Makes sense now?
Yeah.
We will go ahead and call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Herman Emery,
Here.
Max Heimer,
Yes.
Neville,
Here.
Phillips,
Here.
Brightmeister,
Here.
Mock.
Is there any public comments on the agenda items? Into our committee reports, please.
Everything's fine right now. I really don't have anything big going on, so. Going on pretty good.
Anybody have any questions for Tony? Water and sewer?
Don't have a whole ton either. Obviously, the new main to Heron Fertilizer's been pushed back thanks to Mother Nature again. So I will be getting in contact with Lee on that again tomorrow and see how we're setting up to go forward with that. All the paperwork, I believe, I put in your box, so it's all good to go on that.
Okay.
As far as the easement paperwork.
I put it back in your box. Is that just for me to keep a copy of, or?
That's fine, it was addressed to you, and I'm sure that's why it got put there.
Okay, okay.
So, but I know all the easement paperwork was all squared away and done, so we're gonna
Yes.
go on that.
And you did get the park one from Darren?
Yes, it's in there as well.
Awesome.
So, on the sewer aspect, we're still fighting through some battles with Station 3. Obviously, with the rains, it's been a little more of a challenge. Hopefully, we can hold that baby together, and also, if not everybody is aware, not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before, we had a little incident out at the sewer pond. We no longer have a well, we have 3 walls of a building anyway. What happened was, a tree service was there, stirred our fire around, well, what was not a fire, but turned into a fire with all the wind and caught our building on fire. Caught the roof of it on fire, and we ended up pretty much total loss of that. Been dealing with the insurance company with that, so, it's in motion. Other than that, that's pretty much what I have in the water and sewer aspect.
On the sewer pond, so we have there's like a couple of tree services around that if they cut in town, we allow them to dump out there.
With permission.
Did they have permission this time?
No. I have been in contact with him. He did return a phone call to me Monday morning afterwards. I was kind of standoffish. He was a little apologetic, which if I was in his shoes, I probably would have been too. But I didn't divulge much information because obviously when we're dealing with investigations and insurances, there's certain ways to handle things, so.
Anything else for water and sewer? Streets and alleys?
Just today, actually, Mr. McCain was requesting have a culvert in his property. We got that installed today. We've been also, obviously, once again, with Mother Nature, we've been dealing with a lot of tree issues from storms and whatnot. Had one actually in the middle of the day, a large branch fell and partially landed on a car. So we got that insurance claim going through the works as well. I think we started to get a little bit of the tree work done. Once again, I haven't rented any equipment because I haven't seen a daylight for at least 3 to 4 days where I can utilize it without getting wet. And I just don't see the need to spend the funds if I can't get as much out of it as I can.
Would you still plan to rent one though?
Yes. And when that process starts, we will basically just cut for a week, stack it on the boulevard, cut for a week. When we're done cutting, then we'll come the next week with trucks and pick it up and get rid of it. So hopefully the public will be a little more patient with us. That's the easiest process to utilize our money and rental equipment as best we can. Other than that, it's pretty much, and we've been also doing some street patch work. We got put out another 6 ton almost, so we're about 25 ton worth of street patch. We're pretty rough there, so That's what I have in that department.
Anything else for streets and alleys? Finance.
I have the deposits. Since the last meeting, 41,529.17.
Anything else for the finance committee or Tricia? Obviously, we'll have to speak about finance on miscellaneous when we speak about reconciling the accounts. Is there any public comments on the non-agenda items? Yes, sir.
I'm Sam Van Rieden. I'm here just to observe. Again, I was here a couple months ago for a merit badge. I'm from the Boy Scout troop here in town. I'm just here to observe for a merit badge so I can get my requirement. So,
Thank you very much for coming.
yep.
Moving on to the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the approval of bills. You want to go ahead and read those off and we'll talk about them.
Evan Associates, $1,500, Cat Financial, $1,420.87, Dunn Company, $827.50, Economic Development Resources, $1,351.80, Milano and Grumo, $506.
Any questions on the bills? And I think I left mine in my box. Did everybody get a copy of the motor fuel tax resolution? Did you get a copy in everyone's box, Matt?
Yes.
You did send that out. Let me go grab mine real quick. Sorry about that. Questions, concerns, discussion?
So the seal coating, 29,000, that's like twice as much as what we did last year. Right, Matt? And we can always pay more out of the street fund also like we did last year. Oh, crack ceiling, 22,000. Matt, did you have sidewalks in mind for the sidewalk?
So the street maintenance is a project that the school asked me to, they want to either repair or replace and from where the entrance is at the grade school, from where the entrance is north all the way to where that parking lot is. It's in pretty bad shape. And so Justin wrote up some plans and I just included it in the resolution. We don't have to do it. I told the school, you know, it's obviously up to the council and up to discussion if we decide to help with the cost of it at all. I know that the school would be willing to pay for some of that, if not a majority of it. This would just be what it would be if it was totally on us. I just put it in the resolution just so we could, you know, if we did decide to help the school out or if we wanted to split the costs, however, that's up for discussion, that it was in our resolution, so we would be able to use the motor fuel tax funds. So that, everything from street maintenance down is just that one project. New sidewalk, new pavement, and then obviously some curb installation.
And we can probably trim a little of that fat too, because we have it here where we're gonna pay, you know, contractually to remove it. We could probably do the removal ourselves to save some dollars there if need be as well.
So am I reading it right, it's $53,000 to do that little project?
That's what Justin, I talked to Justin today and he said that's what about what he came up with, so.
And that's just from like the entrance? Like
From the
main
entrance
door
to the parking lot,
all the way down
north, yes.
Of course, that's also changing a few things compared to the way it is, making it a little,
Yeah.
obviously better curb and gutter out to where it's not curb and gutter now,
Right.
so.
And this, does it transition to oil and chip there? Or is it all?
No, it's where it does transition to oil and
Right.
chip right there.
That's what I know.
And if we thought that just re-oiling it and chipping it for the time being is a way to go, we can do that as well. That's what the school asked about.
Well,
You
the
know.
problem we're having there is, and you know this as far as I do, they may not know this, is when you get substantial amounts of rain, that sidewalk, the grade of that sidewalk is actually lower than the street. So what you're getting there is you're getting a big old nasty puddle of water. So the bigger expense there is to build that back up and to get you back up to grade there so your water will shed off to the street as opposed to going toward the yard. You follow what I'm saying?
Right. Now, the sidewalk's not in the worst of shape. Do you would you
No.
have to replace the sidewalk if you did that?
I think you're probably gonna have to, because of, just strictly because of the elevation of it.
Okay.
So for the crack sealing, how much of the town are we gonna get out of that for these amounts that are reflected here?
Well,
Is that the rest of the town that wasn't
No,
done
you won't get
last,
the rest
last
of the
fall,
town.
or what are we looking at here in
Well,
ballpark?
I would like to say that we could probably chunk off another, 'cause, I mean, we really stretched it farther last year than I thought we were going to with the linear feet that we did, with the process that those gentlemen did, so, that's hard to gauge, because it's gonna depend on the area we choose to do it in. I don't particularly wanna bounce them all over town, they kinda get a little grumbly about that. You kinda like to think that you tie them into an area to have an ending point somewhere. You
So how
follow
much
what
is
I'm
gonna remain, like Andrew mentioned, that we may wanna just get it all done and dip into the regular funds to finish it, am I?
I'll have to measure it out. The only best way I can tell you that.
So what did he use to do this then?
He based it off of last year and pumped it up a little,
Okay, so this is about equal amounts than what they did last fall.
give or take a little, yes.
Do you remember how many linear feet we did last year? I thought it was 10,000 linear
I
feet.
think it was 15. I have to look back now, it was either 15 or 12. It wasn't quite 20, I know that.
And that was like, wasn't it like 15,000, somewhere around there? 16 was the total bill?
Sort of 18. I think.
18? This doesn't have to be done tonight. If we want to fine tune it, we most certainly can, so.
This is like an outline, we can spend up to this much and even go over by 20%.
I think that's what
When we
it
go
is,
to
yes.
use the fund, it's just like the sooner we get it approved, the sooner we can start getting
Right.
bids and stuff.
You know, the 114 would be what we have left plus the 25,000 that we'll get over the fiscal year. Is the way Justin explained it to me.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, including the motor fuel tax resolution.
Motion? Is there a second?
I second that.
Roll call, please.
Alright, Emmerich,
Yes.
Maxim,
Yes.
Neville,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Brightmeister.
Yes.
Motion passes. Kelly, I believe this resolution requires your signature. I don't. Well, I can take care of that. I can ask Justin. Moving on to miscellaneous business, there is a business district appropriation that was approved by the Economic Development Board in the amount of $1,300 for repairs to the historical museum roof. Let me see if I can find the email. It doesn't really elaborate very much. if we need more information, we can definitely, wait on that. Matt, on your next agenda, approval of a grant to the museum for $1,300 for roof repairs. That's all it says.
Were you at the meeting?
I was not able to make it, and I do not believe Tim was able to make it as well.
I always feel that we charge them with making these recommendations, and I trust their judgment.
No further, go ahead, Tim.
If that's all we got to go by, I don't know if it's 50% of the whole bill, things like that.
Right,
you know,
right, I
that
agree.
we normally are privy to in making these decisions. That so, I don't have a feeling one way or another.
It is not a substantial amount of money. I'll entertain a motion to approve the business district appropriation.
I'll make a motion to approve the appropriation.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Emmerich,
Yes.
Maxheimer,
Yes.
Neville,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Brightmeister.
Motion passes. Reconcile accounts. That has been on the agenda for several meetings now. I don't know. There was some correspondence from Jordan, I think that you guys were in on as far as, whether or not it's required by the Illinois Municipal Code to reconcile our accounts each year. You wanna go ahead and discuss it, or?
I don't think I ever saw anything from Jordan, to be honest.
Well, or was it just a correspondence between you two?
Yeah, that was from Glenn last year.
Yeah, that was from older stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the part of the municipal code, basically it says that you're allowed to borrow money from funds. If you do so, you should pay it back within the fiscal year, so. If it's truly liquid, I feel like we should pay it back. We'll have it paid off for the fiscal year. If we need the money, it'll be in the general fund. We can always, loan it for next year until we go back to it. The sewer fund is something that we should talk about separately.
I got a response from Valerie Asmus. She was the auditor that presented the audits from last year, and this is her response to this issue. And she was not of the opinion that it's required. She stated the reasons in the email, as you can see. And in addition, she also attached some financial records from other cities and counties reflecting due from balances in a lot of the accounts. One of them you'll note is the city of Chicago. So from her perspective, there was the citation that Glenn came up with is not what he thought it was. In addition, I meet a lot of accounting firms in my job, and I touched base with another one in Decatur, Illinois. I spoke with Kevin Buckley. He's with McGuire, Uhouse, Huffman and Buckley, and he echoed the same sentiments as Valerie. So consequently, my opinion is that the citation's a non-issue. So there it is my position at least.
So you think it's neither required nor does it matter to do it?
That's correct. It is not required, and it's okay to have a due to and due from balance, as Valerie alluded to, that you cannot have a negative cash balance, so it has to be reflected as such. So in my mind, from my research, obviously, it's a non-issue nor a requirement to move money at this time under the circumstances that I have stated in prior meetings.
So do you see a financially negative impact if we do make the transfer?
Well, I just want to make, my concern is that we have enough resources to pay for all the capital improvement projects that we have in motion at the present time. If we didn't have that in motion, it makes all the sense in the world to go ahead and repay the funds. Right now, since we do not know what the expenditures are going to be and how we're going to finance these projects that we currently have in motion, to me, it's makes more sense to hold off until we have those numbers. Therefore, we have all the available options in financing such projects. It also should be noted, in the prior fiscal year, we had a carryover $156,000 from the, due to the general fund, from the water and sewer funds that was never paid. So I'm kind of confused as to why we're talking about this today when it's been 2 years. You know, the date on that memo was January of 18, so I'm kind of confused why that wasn't addressed a year ago if it's such a serious point.
We did address it. And if there was a mistake that we didn't address it enough, then that was just that mistake.
Right, because,
Most of the loan money that we took out for the sewer project was to pay back the general fund. So right now, we have a general fund, we have water fund and sewer fund. The water and sewer fund don't write checks. So we use the general fund checking account to pay everything. So we have water money coming into the water and sewer fund, and then we have a checking account that pays out of the general fund, and then eventually, like, you need to just pay it back. I don't know. I would like to see them balanced. I think it's, my opinion is it's the right thing to do. I would make a motion to transfer the balances to the general fund.
now is this something that would be done on a quarterly basis? You know, we will reconcile at every quarter. And I don't know if it would make much sense to do it each month.
It's already being done each month.
Well, when they send me the information, I haven't gotten anything since, I think, March. Was the last time I bounced, or last time I transferred anything, it was for the month of March.
Matt, do you have an opinion?
You know, just because it says we don't have to do it doesn't mean that we have to or don't have to. I agree with Andrew. I feel that the better the accounts are reconciled and the lower the number of due to, due from is, just gives us a better sense of exactly how much money we have. You know, if you're going through your financials, if we're going through our quarterly financial statements and we see that the water and sewer fund has X amount of dollars, but we forget to, but we look over the fact that it owes $100,000 to the general fund, you know, it might be cloudy as to what the financial situation is of that particular fund. That is my opinion.
So we would be borrowing again for these projects?
Probably, yeah.
For which projects? So. you
Any
say,
of
like,
them.
Well, so we have one project for the water fund. That's the only one that's like actually a go right now, of the water main extension, and we have plenty of money to pay that out of the water fund. We don't have any sewer projects in motion, except for the force main, which we don't have a bid on or any amount of money for that yet. And yes, we do not have the funds to pay for that. But I don't think borrowing money from the general fund is the way to finance those.
Then why would we use money from the water and sewer to pay back and then turn around and borrow money for these funds to be? That's where I'm kind of confused at.
Well, I mean, it's borrowing either way.
Doesn't
Yes.
kind of close out the previous transactions though, kind of like starting fresh.
You know, we're borrowing interest-free from the general fund. Why are we borrowing with interest from, just so we can say, hey, they're evened up? Is that really fiscally responsible?
I don't think it's fiscally responsible to use tax money to pay for that stuff.
Yes, Tricia?
I think it should be done every month, and especially for the bills. Now, for this past stuff that we've had, that might be a little bit different, trying to figure out how to balance it so we don't overdraw the sewer fund, for example, because I know that's one that would get hit the hardest. But I think every month, once a month, we need to reconcile the payables that have gone out. So we don't, because I think there's been months since Abbott's taken over that haven't been transferred, so that's kind of built up over time. But if it's done every month, then like Darren says, it kind of evens everything up and you know what's been paid for
Right. At
and
least
there's not.
if you're still snowballing, at least the
Yeah.
end's falling off.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we need to figure out what we're gonna do with the sewer part, because I know the sewer fund doesn't have enough to pay the general back.
It does now, right?
Does it now? I haven't looked at it specifically to see how close we were. But you know what I mean, that if that was the concern, we should at least going forward, making sure every month those things get transferred back to pay for the payables.
And that system's in place.
Yeah, if
When they get
when they
to
get me the numbers, yes.
There is a motion on the table to reconcile the accounts made by Andrew.
I'll second it.
No, I was out of order there because we should have got a second before we continued to discuss it. Roll call, please.
Alderman Emmerich,
no.
Maxheimer,
No.
Neville,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yeah.
Brett
Yes.
Motion passes. Is there any other miscellaneous business?
The meeting streaming to YouTube, that has come up due, if we wanna do it for another year, it's $20 a month, I think, so $10 a meeting to stream it, and it's like a year thing, but we can quit, with 30 days notice, that type of thing, so, it's set to renew unless we think it's not a good deal. I think it adds value. Does anybody think we shouldn't continue?
I think we should do it.
How many people actually watch it? It should tell you if it doesn't.
So lately we've been getting like 110, 120 views. I don't know how many people like sit down and actually watch the whole thing. I would say
But I mean, 100 hits on it at least.
I know I was surprised the amount of people that told me after I joined that they watched it. So I was surprised to see you there. Surprised you watched it, that's great.
Right.
Really, I mean, because people aren't gonna come here and sit and watch, but they'll sit at home and turn it on YouTube, whether it's live or whatever.
That's what I do on Saturday night, so
Is that your entertainment?
Okay, looks like we're in agreement to continue that. Any other miscellaneous business? The only thing that I have is the Logan County Animal Control Contract is due to renew in June at the advice of Mr. Scott Schaffnecker, our county board member. We were given the rates and it looks like we're paying a fair amount more than the rest of the communities in the county. I mean, if we were gonna compare anything, it'd probably be like Atlanta would be the most comparable because the population's about the same. We're paying about twice as much as what they do. It has been put on the Animal Control Committee, Logan County Board Animal Control Committee meeting to reevaluate the fees for the city. So I talked with a lady by the name of Jane Whitman, and even though that the contract expires in June, they will continue to give us services, for at least 30 days. She said it's surprising that the towns that do have contracts hardly ever get it in by June 1st. So there's gonna be no break in service. We'll still have the service. It's just, you know, a matter of reevaluating our fees. It might be cut in half, actually, the way Scott talks, so. But that's obviously up to the county board.
What other services entail? Sorry if anyone doesn't know.
Uh,
Rough idea.
You can probably explain it
Yeah.
fast, Tony, if you could, please.
Yeah, I know there's sometimes they give, you know, if we have a dog that's, you know, if somebody's not taking care of it, they'll come get it. We've had that a lot of times.
Like neglect,
You know,
you're saying?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
left outside.
Um,
And
usually
I
we
know
try,
a lot of the neglect rules
Yeah.
and laws and
and usually we try to, you know, work with the owner, but, you know, if we keep seeing repeats of not care, then we can just call them up and say, hey, come get this dog.
because if you got a loose dog and it's mean and you don't have animal control contract,
Right.
It's a mess.
we don't have any means to not in front of people.
Right.
I think like if the city has a contract, anytime there's a loose dog, anybody can call and they'll come take care of it. If we don't have a contract, they can still do that. It's like
So it's gonna cost-
$100 per.
$200 per occurrence.
Yeah.
I just didn't know.
And it's domesticated animals only. They
Right.
won't, yeah, they won't come get
Right,
like
right. Come get your
a
raccoons
rabid
and
coyote or
possums and
something.
stuff.
So while we're talking about that, we also have Larry William that contracts out and he takes care of the possums and
Yeah, I've
raccoons
used him before.
and the skunks.
And the scraggly coyotes.
That was all I had. Is there any other discussion or any need to go to executive session? Okay, we'll call that the end of the meeting. Thanks for coming.